And welcome to the Marcus and Mike show. I am Mike, the driver's seat's in the car today, but as always, I'm joined with my man Marcus, the other side of Marcus and the Mike show. Marcus, how you doing today, man?
Pretty good, Michael. Just ready to get going here.
Yeah,
Talk a little sports.
definitely. So this is the first episode of the Marcus and Mike show. It is going to kind of be the same thing that we've always been doing with RTS Sports Talk, but it's just Marcus and myself. But Marcus, before we get started, as always, we got to do a little bit of baseball talk. Yesterday, your Houston Astros and Texas Rangers battled in a pretty high-scoring affair, I might say. I was watching the game to about the fourth inning. Rangers were up 11-1. And then I was watching SportsCenter this morning, and they only won 11-10. So I was watching the highlights, and Houston Astros in like the eighth or ninth inning just came out of nowhere, scored tons of runs, and that's got to kind of be exciting for you as an Astros fan, and you know with like World Series aspirations there. So how do you feel about that? Like, are you worried about the pitching a little bit? Are you excited about how the offense battled back, or is it just another baseball game? Is that the dog days?
Well, look, I mean, the Astros, they struggled a little bit with their bats at the beginning of the year. The bats are coming around a little bit. Garrett Cole struggled the other day. You know, Garrett Cole struggled yesterday, so that's a little alarming. He gave up like 5 runs or something, like right off the bat in the first couple innings. That's a little alarming. He usually doesn't struggle like that. I mean, the guy's a heck of a pitcher. And he's a number 2 pitcher right now for the Astros, probably would be a lot of people's ace. He'd be the Texas Rangers ace. I know that
Right.
if he played for the Rangers. But that was kind of weird. The Rangers, man, they can hit the bat. They can hit the ball too. They're at bat percentage. You know, it's like 4 point something. The Rangers, they're making a pitcher throw at least to every batter 4.2 times or something, which is top 3 in the major league. So
Yeah.
the Texas Rangers have good bat capabilities there. The Rangers pitching is terrible. So I knew the Astros could kind of get back into it. They almost did. They walked Altuve with the bases loaded, and then I think Chirinos struck out there to finish the Astros off 11-10 to get the victory for the Texas Rangers. But you know, the Rangers this year are pretty funny. They're doing okay, despite the fact that you know, they really don't have any starting pitching. It's almost like they've given up on the season. I think I don't know who their best pitcher is. Maybe Smiley, or I'm not. You know, it's pretty bad. But the Rangers bats are really good. Astros bats are really good. So with the Astros pitching struggling, I expected a 6-7 ball game, 8-9 ball game, but man, it went 11-10, which is pretty amazing. And the Astros the Texas Rangers put it on the Astros this weekend. It was pretty bad, but give credit to the Rangers, man. Hey, they got good bats there, and
Yeah.
Gallo is really good. Gallo for the Rangers is really good. He always starts out well.
Yeah, it was the top of the ninth, and they had bases juice with just with the Justice single out, and
Yeah.
and I saw some crazy stat like this would have been the biggest comeback in Houston Astro history if they would have pulled that win off,
Yeah.
just like
That would've been amazing.
last night. And speaking of tanking or throwing away the season, here about middle May, early June, you will find out the teams that are really giving up on their season. They'll start trading off their aces for like assets. I really anticipate my Kansas City, like we have maybe 3 or 4 good assets left on the team that we haven't traded away already, to be completely back in rebuild mode since 2015. Basically, but we did lose to the Yankees for the third straight time, 7-6 in extra innings. The series started. This was a 4-game series, which is kind of rare. So we didn't get the complete sweep of the or the Yankees didn't sweep us completely. We did get that Thursday night win, 6-1. When I was like, man, I was kind of hyped because we always kind of have the Yankees number year in and like year out, and they have 12 people on the injury reserve list, and by the end of the series they added 6 more, so they have 18 people on the injured reserve list, and it's not even May yet. But Royals.
I was watching the game. Kansas City was up 6-5 in the ninth,
Yep.
and I was like, "Please hold this lead. Please hold this lead."
Yeah.
And they, and the Yankees scored, and then made it 6-6, and then it went into extra innings. I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah, the Royals are now 5-8 with a double-digit lead at some point in the game, or sorry, with a 2 or run more lead in the game. That is the worst in the majors. We are fifth in the AL Central as well with a 7-5 record. On the bright side, the leading are the White Sox, and they're only, I believe they're like 8-8 or something like that. So it's a win-win for us. Like we're only 5 games out, so there's still a hope. There's still hope.
Yeah.
But speaking of no hope here, Boston Celtics did sweep my Indiana Pacers. I really truly thought it was going to be a great series. Marcus, what are your thoughts on this? That
was my worst thing of the weekend. I had Indiana, winning these 2 games because how tough they played them in Game 2. I thought, going back to Indiana, they'd squeak a couple out. I didn't expect Indiana to blow the Celtics out by any stretch of the imagination, but I expected Indiana to win a couple of close games, and they completely disappointed me. I mean, the Celtics really showed who they are, though. I mean, their depth is amazing. The Celtics' depth is going to carry them through. I cannot wait to see this Bucks-Celtics series because the Celtics have such a luxury that when a couple of guys are struggling, here comes another couple of guys that can drop 30 on you.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this for a second. You could have, Gordon Hayward struggling, Tatum struggling, but then here comes Jaylen Brown and Kyrie can pick you right up. A lot of teams don't have that luxury. Guys just sitting around waiting that can drop 30 on you. And, of course, Indiana doesn't have that luxury. I thought Miles Turner, his great dunk withstanding, I thought he was a little disappointing in the series. I thought he would play a little better. But look, you just can't recover. Not all teams are as talented as the Celtics and the Warriors. You just can't recover by losing your one NBA All-Star, which is Victor Oladipo. At the beginning of this series, I had the Celtics in 5. So, it's about right. I thought Indiana would get 1 at the beginning of when we talked about this about a week ago, but Indiana couldn't even get 1. They almost had that Game 2 in Boston. But, man, the better team won here. Let's just be obvious. I mean, let's be honest. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
Yeah, so the Celtics and Bucks are on a collision course for a great second round. And Indiana just go back to the drawing board and get Oladipo healthy and, see what kind of changes they make. I tell you what, Miles Turner, to me, if I'm the general manager, you know this, every NFL team, NBA team, and Major League Baseball team, at the end of the year, they bring in each player individually and say what they want, what's our expectation of you, or we might trade you, we might keep you. I mean, you have to be really honest with these players. Greg Popovich has always been real honest. Hey, look, we might move you in the offseason. You're prepared. Right. Or he's going to tell you, hey, look, you're part of our program. You need to get better. You got to bring in Miles Turner and say, hey, look, this is it. You're ready. I mean, you have to take this next step and become like a better, you followed in LaMarcus Aldridge's footsteps at UT. You're going to have to become better than LaMarcus Aldridge or just as good. This is your time now. You're 25, 26 years old. We want to sign you to, I don't even know if they have signed him to a long-term deal yet. But, I think they have. But if you want to start becoming forget the money. If you want to start becoming a perennial all-star, this is it, Miles. This is your time to shine. And so we expect you to even get better in the offseason.
Yeah.
So that's what they tell each individual player. You know what I mean? When they leave. So I would really tell Miles Turner this could be his team. He and Victor, they got to be a good 1-2 punch moving forward.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying, and I couldn't agree agree more. But let's just flash back on this series a tad bit. The Pacers were never really blown out of any game. Look at the Game 1 score, 84-74. By far the lowest output of the series. Everybody kind of feeling each other out, getting their feet wet. Game 2, when Indiana had a very good possibility, I believe it was down to 1 or 2 points with just 30 seconds left, but they ended up losing 99-91. Game 3 at Indianapolis, 104-96, and then last night, Game 4, 110-106. So yes, they got swept, but they were in every game. They had opportunity to win every game except for Game 1. I think Game 1, they were just they were not mentally in the game early, and it kind of showed. So Pacers are right there. I mean, with the once Oladipo he comes back, even if he was 80% in this series, I still think they could have stole the one game, possibly even two. Would they beat the Celtics? No. Celtics look like a really good basketball team. The basketball team that we talked about earlier in the year, saying, hey, they should be the number one seed in the East. They're the team to beat in the East. And Gordon Hayward went off last night in his hometown, which was kind of good for him. Kind of a comeback. Hey, I'm back. Type of thing. So, I had the Bucks winning the East, and after watching the Celtics series, I'm kind of scared. The Celtics might beat the Bucks in the next in the next round.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the Celtics, if everybody comes to play and then they turn it up in the playoffs, unlike they did in the regular season, they were very underwhelming in the regular season. The Celtics have the depth that can beat anybody, including Golden State in a series.
You're right.
You can't account for you sit two top stars down, and then two stars come in that can get you 30. Nobody has that luxury. So it's kind of amazing what the Celtics have. They just didn't show out in the regular season like they should have. And to just further expand your point, Indiana, you can't beat the Celtics without your closer. Oladipo's in that Dwayne Wade mold, the closer, and they needed. It was never more evident in those games 2, 3, and 4. They needed Oladipo to close, and just wasn't there. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and now we're going to stay in the East here, but let's switch over to a series that we thought was going to be a 7-game series as well. The Philadelphia 76ers versus the Nets. The 76ers did win Saturday, 112-108, giving them a 3-1 series lead. Do you think this is 76ers in 5, or do you think the Nets can pull out at least one more game here?
I predicted 76ers in 7. So I think that the Nets do have the talent to go to Philly and win. Will they? I don't know. Because the X factor for us, I think both of us have been Embiid. If Embiid shows up and he's like Akeem Olajuwon, but he's shooting threes, which is Olajuwon, didn't do. When Joel Embiid plays, I mean, they're at they're at an amazing level. And I think he didn't even play one game, and they still won, that's because Tobias Harris went 6 for 6 from the three-point line. You can't just overcome that. It's amazing.
And
Tobias
Simmons
Harris was
actually
amazing.
showed up and played well.
Yeah, and Ben Simmons was great. Man, the Nets had a chance to win. They did everything right, except they played the great defense on Embiid, and then Embiid falling down finds Mike Scott in the corner. The guy who you want, if you're a Nets fan, you got guys walking out onto the court, guys named Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, J.J. Redick, and Tobias Harris, and Mike Scott. Who would you want to take that last shot if you're the Nets?
Exactly.
Mike Scott. And he took it and he buried the 3. Something that happened to my Spurs, and we'll get into in a few minutes here. The guys you want taking the shots, the worst guys on the court. Mike Scott's a good player, but he's not. He's the guy you want taking the shot at the end of the game, and if he misses that shot, Nets win. That's how close this series is. So Mike Scott took the 3-pointer, made it, and now their 76ers are up 3-1. And a lot of it's, Embiid is just phenomenal. In my opinion, Embiid, if he were healthy, has a chance to be the best player in the league. We talked about this about 3 weeks ago. Better than Giannis Antetokounmpo, because Joel Embiid can step out and shoot threes, and you can't leave Embiid open. You're gonna see teams play everybody else on Milwaukee, and when it comes down to final possessions, if Antetokounmpo is picking up his dribble, you're gonna see teams just lay off of him. Go ahead and shoot it. They're barely gonna guard him. But Embiid, you can't do that to. So that's why I would have Embiid. Like right now, if you told me who would I rather have, Embiid or Giannis, I would take Giannis because he's not hurt, right? But if I knew both were going to stay healthy, I'd take Embiid. So Embiid's an X factor for the 76ers, and he plays like that. Listen, the Nets are probably going to lose here in 5, but it would shock me if the Nets young guns came up and won a game in Philly. But Philly probably will close us out in 5, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Philly is going to close it on their home court. I believe it's Tuesday night is when they play next. But the other side story of this whole series was Jimmy Butler getting ejected in the third quarter in that game 4 matchup. Yes, he was not suspended for game 5, but look for the Nets to attack him early and often to try to get in his head and just try to get him tossed and if he gets tossed again, I believe that is a guaranteed 1-game suspension going into the next series and or game. So
he's got to be on his best behavior. I don't think he'll get tossed. I think he's a true professional. I don't think he'll get tossed. Sure, you can go at it and you can try to do it, but he should have been tossed. He retaliated. Jared Dudley did the right thing too, in my opinion. You got to push Embiid. Embiid didn't make a basketball play. He wasn't going. He was going for the ball and body.
Right.
I would have ran and saved my player too. I would have pushed Embiid too if I was Jared Dudley. I think Jared Dudley did the right thing.
At the same time, though, you have to let them players play a little bit. It is playoff basketball. It is going to get touchy, and people already have the perspective that the NBA is soft anyways. So for you to eject these two players so quickly when just a couple shoves happen, I mean, I think because play a little bit.
I think because Michael, because it went in the stands. Had it been at midcourt or near the court, but they were pushed together on fans, and I think they had to be ejected. I think that's like a kind of a rule thing.
Yeah, they exited the playing court. Yeah,
they entered the stadium, so the stands.
That makes sense.
So yeah.
I didn't know that rule. I did know the rule if a player would leave the bench, like in that situation, they're automatically ejected and suspended. I think. But yeah, I do have 76ers winning on Tuesday. They do play Tuesday at 8:00 on the TNT channel. So I think the Nets had a nice good run. They got us hyped. They made me buy into their hype a little bit for next year. Hopefully it can carry on the momentum for next year that they have here. Moving on to the other Saturday game here, we had your San Antonio Spurs taking on the Denver Nuggets here. Spurs did lose 117-103. Jurek did lead the way with 29 points. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, the Denver Nuggets played a near flawless basketball game, especially in the second half. They didn't even commit a turnover. The Spurs were doomed from the beginning of the third quarter. The Nuggets frontline players, except for Paul Millsap, played fabulous. And then the Nuggets backup players played fabulous. When you've got backup players hitting threes all over the place on you, and then you've got your frontline starters doing well, like Gary Harris and Murray and Jokic, then you got guys named Beasley and Morris and Craig. I don't think Craig missed. I don't remember him missing. It was just an incredible display of shooting. The Nuggets didn't commit any turnovers, and they hit every time they shot. I thought it was going in. So you're not going to overcome that, even if one of the Spurs, even if Rudy Gay showed up. I mean, which he hasn't shown up all series scoring wise. He's gotten a few rebounds, but Spurs. I mean, that was just an awesome display by the Nuggets. Played almost perfect basketball. I was hoping that they would save that for Game 5 and Spurs will be up 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Play a perfect Game 5 and we're up 3-1. That's fine. We can come back Game 6. The Nuggets did what a veteran team did. And it was amazing to watch. They played flawless basketball Game 4 when a game they had to win. And so now they put the pressure a little bit on the Spurs. Now, to be honest, the pressure's still on the Nuggets because they have Game 5 at their place. They can't lose it. You know what I mean? Because if you go back to San Antonio down 3-2, that's not a good proposition for you. You're a young team like the Nuggets. So really, the pressure's on both teams because the Spurs have to show up. And usually when a team wins 2 games in a row in a series, in a really close series, that's the team that usually ends up winning the series. So the Spurs can't let the Nuggets win Game 5 because that'll be 2 in a row. And that may mean doom for the San Antonio Spurs. But I give the Nuggets all the credit in the world for playing a damn near flawless basketball game. I think the first time they had a turnover is when they didn't want to score anymore at the end of the game, and they held it so the 24-second clock should go off, and then they handed the ball over. That counts as a turnover. I think that was one of their only turnovers I've seen. I saw the whole game. So the Nuggets were absolutely phenomenal, and I just hats off to them. Derek White came back to earth a little bit. Gary Harris put that defense on him. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus weren't the problems. The problem is we're not getting anything from the other guys, which was shocking. Patty Mills tried his best, but he wasn't that great. Bertans and Bellinelli and Gay, these guys off the bench aren't performing, and they were nowhere near to the level of the Denver Nuggets players off the bench. And that's kind of surprising, because that was kind of one of my things coming in of why the Spurs would win this series in 6, was because I thought our bench with our veterans would play better than the young Nuggets bench. The Spurs may still win this series. I think they still will. The winner of Game 5 will win this series. But it's been surprising to me how good the Nuggets bench has been this series, and it's been pretty spectacular. These guys are coming out of nowhere. Like I said, Beasley and Morris and Plumlee's battling in there for rebounds. He's not doing bad. And this guy named Craig, I mean, they should enter him in the 3-point shooting contest. Right. I mean, this guy was outrageous. He was taking practice shots. I think he made like 6 threes. It's ridiculous. What the Nuggets are getting is something that OKC is not getting. OKC is not getting those threes by other people. So it's just like relying on 2 players. Well, the Spurs didn't. The Spurs didn't get help from their others, as like Shaquille O'Neal likes to call them, the others. Spurs got no help from the others, and Denver Nuggets got all the help from the others. I mean, those guys were just phenomenal. I mean, so yeah, you weren't going to beat a Nuggets team. Let me tell you something. Let me just say this. If the Nuggets were to play like that against Golden State, they'd give Golden State a good run, and they would beat Houston, Portland, whoever.
I agree with that. Yep.
They played flawless. Now, do they have another flawless game in them? Do they have that flawless game in Game 5? We'll see. Usually that doesn't happen. Every game takes its own identity. Spurs, I think, are going to make this, and Game 5 is going to come down to what I thought Game 4 would come down to. Game 5 will come down to, it's 90-90 with 5 minutes left.
Yeah, and I have to agree of like what you just said there, is the Denver Nuggets did play a near perfect game. Actually, they did play a perfect game, and they still only beat the Spurs by, 13 points there, and like a couple of those late buckets were kind of adding to the score there.
Michael, that is a great thought, because there was one time near the end of the third quarter where the Nuggets were only up 11.
Right.
And they played flawless. And the Spurs looked like terrible, and they were only down 11. Yeah. So that actually bodes well for the Spurs. People weren't noticing. I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah.
And this has put the pressure on Denver they have to play perfect 2 more times to beat the Spurs. And and like they might win Game 5, but I don't see them doing that in Game 6, and I definitely don't see that doing in a Game 7. So in a normal series, yes, I would concur, saying that the winner of Game 5 in a 2-2 series tied would win the series. But this series it's a totally different beast. Like I feel the Spurs can be down 3-1 in this situation, and they would still have the advantage. It's just like the Spurs are just much. They are a better team than they are. They are more experienced. They've been there, done that. They got the T-shirt. So I'm not worried about the Spurs at all. I don't see Denver playing 2 more perfect games to put them in a situation to win a Game 7. I just don't see that happening.
Well, no, I agree with you. I mean, I do put a lot of stock in the percentages. I'm a percentage guy. The winner of Game 5, wins the series like 78% of the time. So the Spurs don't want to be in the business of losing Game 5 and then having to win Game 6 and 7. But where I agree with you is Spurs could be part of that 22% that still wins, that loses and goes down 3-2 and still wins the series, because they have Game 6 at home. If they win that one, who knows what happens in a Game 7? It's because the Nuggets are so young.
Right.
And I could see a situation, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where it's Game 7 and everybody's going to be predicting the Nuggets to win, and you could see those same role players for the Nuggets like nutting up, like not like being a little apprehensive, little tentative, and I could see Patty Mills and Marco Bellinelli just draining threes, because those two have hit shots on the biggest stage of NBA basketball to win championships. So I could see that happening. So I think the Spurs could win a Game 7, but So I agree with you on that. The Spurs could lose Game 5 and win Game 6 and 7. I agree with you there. But I think the Spurs don't want to be in the business of having to win Game 6 and 7. I think they want to take care of business Tuesday night Game 5.
I agree with you there.
The Spurs have to treat Game 5 like it's a Game 7.
Yeah, but at the same time, all the pressure is on Denver. They are the 2 seed. Okay.
Yeah.
San Antonio isn't even supposed to be here, like in a series tied, or even have the upper advantage, just like at this point. So all the pressure is on Denver to win at home in Game 5, and I just don't see that happening. I think they're going to crumble under the pressure. They're going to play a horrible game, and Spurs are going to win by 20 points. It is going to be an ugly game. Spurs are going to dominate from point A to point B.
I think the Spurs win a close game, Game 5. We'll see what happens. But I agree with you. The better team, as crazy as it sounds, I know it's 2-2, so they're even, right?
Yeah.
But the Spurs have actually played better basketball in more of the quarters. Denver completely played flawless from the third quarter on.
Yep.
So that was kind of a half game. The Spurs played pretty well in the first half, and it was tied up. But, Denver, I mean, this is a heck of a series because, you've got these shooters from Denver, Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, and anybody besides the Nuggets, besides the Warriors, Jamal Murray and Gary Harris can score with anybody. I don't care who you are. And then when you have your backups for the Nuggets hitting threes, that's almost too. Can the backups do that again? You're saying no.
No.
You're saying no. So I can't wait to see how this plays out. And we're gonna have to send another APB out for Rudy Gay, Marco Bellinelli. Let's let the playoffs have started, guys. Let's go. So that we'll see what happens. But you're saying backups for the Nuggets won't do that again, and I hope you're 100% correct.
I just don't see them playing another flawless game and Spurs playing such a crappy game. Like the Nuggets might play another near perfect game, but I don't see the Spurs playing back-to-back horrible games. So
right.
That's all I'm saying. So we're going to take a quick break here, but before we go to break, just to finalize some more scores here, the Bucks beat the Pistons 119-103 to take a 3-0 lead. Is that series over?
Oh, you know what? Wait, I thought you were talking. You said Bucks. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That series is over.
That series is over. I mean, I think Blake Griffin even played, and then I think I saw a couple of plays where he went to the goal and then he got hurt again.
Yeah,
dude is just needs to. Hey, he should break Blake Griffin. I don't know if it's a pride thing. He shouldn't even play in the next game. You just shut him down. You play the young guys. You just treat this game as almost like a D-League game. I wouldn't even play Blake Griffin. This series is over. Actually, I might even hold out Giannis. If they were going to hold out Blake Griffin, why would I put Giannis Antetokounmpo in a game to battle Andre Drummond for 20 minutes? And then what if Giannis got hurt and he couldn't play against the Celtics?
Sure.
So actually, that would make my decision. If I was the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, Coach Mike Budenholzer, who I've talked to personally a few times, good guy, and he brought a great system to Milwaukee. I would hold if Blake Griffin wasn't going to play, Giannis would be a scratch, and I don't care what Giannis says. Like, he could be mad at me. You're not playing. Blake Griffin's not playing. We're going to beat them anyway. We need you well rested for that monster getting up and down the court, Boston Celtics. So, yeah, I mean, this series is over. It was pretty much over before it started. This is one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree there. 4-0 sweep there. Golden State beat the LA 113-105 to take a 3-1 lead. Series over.
Yeah, series over. I just think it's absolutely hilarious that Golden State gave up that one game, that 31 there were 31 point deficit. So now they have to. Right now, Golden State should be over. They should be sitting there watching Houston and game planning for Houston. I know their scouts and coaches are game planning for Houston, but the players, now they have to play one game against this scrappy Clippers team, and anything can happen. Sure. That's why we just talked about the Bucks series. You got to end the Pistons real quick so you don't play some stupid Game 5 and you have to suit up again. I just think, and let me reiterate, I just think it's hilarious that Kevin Durant has to put the shorts and shoes on again and has to go out there for a Game 5 because they gave up a 31-point lead. Anything can happen. Curry could sprain an ankle at the first quarter, Can you imagine that? Or Kevin Durant, and then they're out the playoffs or they're out the Houston series or something, right? Just because they gave up a 31-point lead. I think it's laughable. I think it's funny they have to put the uniform on again to play a Game 5. But yeah, they'll beat the Clippers. But I hope the Clippers come to play, man. I hope this is a highly contested game, like a little bit like Game 4 was in terms of, Clippers kind of hung in the whole game. So it's kind of. I hope it's not a blowout. I want to see Durant play 39 minutes. I want to see Curry play 38 minutes. But what a luxury, Michael, the Warriors have. Like Klay Thompson, he can struggle all series, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then show up Game 4 and then be great. And everybody's, Klay Thompson's so great. Can you imagine if Klay was with another team and he had to be the man every night? Let's see if he could do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, well, I mean, he can, but we'll never know because he lives such a luxury life of playing with, when you play with other great players, you know what I mean? Like, you live a luxury life. You don't, like, think about when they play Toronto. Kawhi Leonard's probably not going to see Klay Thompson. Like, of course, you know what I mean? Kawhi Leonard's going to have to play Kevin Durant. But if Klay Thompson played, and I'm going somewhere else now, but if Klay Thompson played for another team, Kawhi Leonard could shut Klay Thompson down. But Klay Thompson lives a lavish life. He can hang out during a series, then show up Game 4 and then get patted on the back. Oh, Klay's so great. Well, yeah, because he plays with all these great players. He's great, but he plays with a lot of great players. But I want to see the Clippers at least play these guys tough. But it probably won't be. Klay will probably get 20 minutes. Curry will probably get 20 minutes. They'll be laughing in the middle of the third quarter, But I hope the Clippers play tough.
Just because I'm tired of seeing Stephen Curry cry all the time, I hope it goes 6 or even 7 games, just because I want to see him whine even more. Like, he got called for a offensive foul toward the end of the game, and he threw the biggest fit I've ever seen a grown man throw. He's like, always straight up and down, just, dude, you're throwing elbows. Get out of here. But we'll talk some more NBA here in a second, right on the other side of the break. We'll be right back, guys.
Oh, man.
Marcus and Mike show here. I am Mike alongside Marcus as well here. Marcus, we're just going to jump right back into the NBA playoff talk here. We have one more series that is at a 3-1, that should be pretty much over. You have Toronto manhandling the Magic the other night. Is that series over?
That series is over, and I'm shocked that, if it wasn't for a great DJ Augustine three-pointer Game 1 and a Kyle Lowry doing what normal Kyle Lowry does, not show up in the playoffs, this thing would already be over. It's kind of the same thing. It's kind of hilarious that Kawhi Leonard has to put the jersey on again. Anything can happen. Siakam could get hurt. Yeah. If Siakam or Kawhi Leonard went down this game, there'd be a travesty. So that it's funny that they have to put the uniform on again. This series is over. It'll be 4-1. It should have been 4-0. Yeah. Orlando has a bright future, but not this series.
Maybe not next year either. Maybe a couple years down the road. But one of the most intriguing series that is at a 3-1 lead right now is the Portland-Oklahoma City series. Portland did beat Oklahoma City the other night, 111-98. Russell Westbrook had 7 points, I do believe. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, 7 points with 0 for 7 shooting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He had like 1 point the second half or something.
He was pretty much non-existent in that Game 4 matchup. First question, is this game serious when it goes back to Portland in Game 5, or does Oklahoma City even have a chance?
Oklahoma City has a chance just based off talent alone. When you have two guys like that, Russell Westbrook and Paul George coming downhill on you, and if Portland misses shots, this game could be 90-90 with 4 minutes left, and OKC could win. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to happen. Portland has proved in this series, and it was kind of surprising to me a little, to be honest. I thought Portland would win this series. All right, no, excuse me. Who did I have? Did I have OKC? I don't even remember.
Yeah, me and you both had OKC.
Yeah. I had Thunder in 6. But this has been surprising to me that Portland has been able to do this to OKC a little bit. And a lot of times you get proved wrong or proved right in these series, obviously. But what Portland has proven me wrong is they have become the more complete basketball team. They have become – I love watching Portland. And I just watching them in these last 4 games, everybody knows their roles, okay? Mm-hmm. You got Lillard and McCollum. They have the green light. They can take over a game. They can shoot whenever they want to. All other 10 players that are suited up on that night for Portland know that these are the 2 top dogs. You're not going to take shots away from the 2 top dogs. You let these 2 guys, like an Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, you let them do their thing, and you will get yours on the break, once in a while in post-ups, once in a while when we kick it out to you for a 3. But Terry Stotts has this thing going in the right direction. When Portland needs buckets down low, they go to Enes Kanter, who is a terrific offensive player. Harkless and Aminu are 2 6'8", 6'9", 3-and-D guys, 3 guys that can hit open shots, can play anybody on the perimeter. They can play like the Kawhi Leonards and the Paul Georges of the world on the perimeter and make it life tough on them. Then you have Collins and Miles Leonard in their 2 6'11" guys who block shots and rebounds and can hit open threes. Collins can hit open threes more so than Leonard. Leonard's a little more in the post, but even without Nurkic, I'm finding out a lot about Portland. They are a complete basketball team, yes. And it is on full display here against Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City struggling. Not only is Russ struggling, right, but he's not getting the key players to watch in the series. Ferguson, guy's supposed to hit a lot of threes. Mm-hmm. That's not happening. Russ and Paul George, when they don't hit, when they struggle a little bit, there's nobody there to say, hey, Russ, George, I got this. Let me go 6 for 6 from the 3-point line like Craig did for the Nuggets against the Spurs. They don't have an Aminu to get offensive rebounds. Those players are not playing well. And so when Russ and George struggle, it's a done deal. When Lillard struggled, they still win. Did you see Damian Lillard didn't even have a great shooting night last night, and they still won. Paul George and Russell Westbrook do not have the luxury because Portland is the more complete basketball team. I found that out the hard way. I probably should have picked Portland now looking back on it because I don't know if you remember, but OKC coming down the stretch, they won the big game against Houston, but they had actually went 10 and 12 in the last 22 or something ridiculous, right? So they weren't really playing good basketball coming into the playoffs, and Portland was. Portland was learning how to play without Nurkic, and Portland has really flexed their muscles here. They're the complete basketball team, and it's really shown in this OKC series. And Portland looks to advance, and they're the real deal right now. And I think OKC can win because of on talent alone. And if Lillard and McCollum struggle, sure OKC can win, but I don't see it. I see Portland closing them out.
Yeah, just to add on your pure team concept here, let me just read off the points total from the Portland starters for the previous game. You have 15 points, you have 19 points, 8 points, 24, and 27. All pretty much evenly distributed points. Yeah. Now let's look at OKC. 32, 11, 6, 14, and 3. It's pretty much a two-man show on Oklahoma City. Nobody else is showing up. Steven Adams is averaging under 5 points per game in this series. Ferguson is averaging just 5 points per game this series.
That's sick.
Yeah, so Steven Adams should be dominating this series night in and night out. He is really the most physical force on the floor, and he's getting 6 points. Not only is he getting 6 points, he's only getting 7 boards. What are you doing, my man?
What are you doing?
Yeah. Yes, he only played 29 minutes. This past game, but he is averaging 1 board per 3 minutes of basketball. That is ridiculous. 24-second shot clock. There are at least 3 shots going up every minute at least. So there's
He's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael. He's another one that I call into my office
Yeah.
and say, son, if you're not getting 20 rebounds a game, you're not doing your job. Steven Adams should be dominating the rebounds, putting layups back in on his team's misses. There's nobody there. Miles Leonard, Collins for Portland. Those guys are 6'11", right?
Yep.
But they're about 200 pounds. Have you seen those guys? He should be dominating, and he's not dominating. I don't understand how this man's not dominating with he should be getting putbacks and layups. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But with all that being said, I do not see Oklahoma City losing Game 5. I think either Paul George or Russell will put the team on his back, and they'll score 40-plus points, and they will not lose Game 5. They might lose Game 6 just because they're physically tired, but I do see this series going 6 games still to this point. But when Portland they're playing really good basketball right now, and what I've said night in and night out on this podcast is you have to learn how to win. Last year Portland was a 3 seed. They got beat in the first round, and they've learned how to win since that point. They've been there, they've done that, and now it's time for them to take that next step after being knocked out of the playoffs. I believe first round last 7 or 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. They finally learned how to win. It's time to step up.
Yeah, another APB out on Steven Adams.
Yeah,
we send these APBs out. Yeah, I mean, dude, show up.
I think if he gets another 6-point game with less than 10 boards, you can see him not in an Oklahoma City uniform next year.
I mean, I don't know, man. Something has to be done. That's why I said I'd call Steven Adams in my office and say, dude, you could be a 7-foot Dennis Rodman, and you're not doing it. We need you in the playoffs, man. Grab the rebounds. You have Portland bombing from all over, and they miss shots. Start grabbing some boards, and then Oklahoma City, get a lot of offensive rebounds. These guys are shooting up shots. He should have. It's embarrassing for Steven Adams.
Yeah.
He should have 20 points on 10 putbacks in the game. Ridiculous.
I don't know. I just think it's a lack of effort on his side. But moving on to the final series, that is a 3-0 series right now. Houston did beat Jazz in Game 3, 104-101. Does Houston get the sweep tonight?
I mean, this actually has me the most perplexed.
Yeah.
I mean, and you and I hit it right on the head, but we still didn't get the outcome we wanted. We said you can't shoot. People don't shoot well in Utah. Harden helps us out and goes 3 for 20, just like we thought, and Houston still won.
Right.
That just easily shows you that Utah didn't come to play. Houston's playing really well. Quinn Snyder's got to go soak his head somewhere. The coach at Utah. I don't understand this series at all. When James Harden goes 3 for 20 and you still lose the game, yeah, you miss. It's over for you. And so I think Houston probably is going to close out this series. Wouldn't shock me at all if Utah woke up and played a game. But Donovan Mitchell, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you're supposed to be the next great thing, the next like D Wade type, and you're going 8 for 25. And I mean, somebody put an APB out on a lot of these Utah Jazz players, man. Where are they at? Where's the coach at? I mean, this has got to be the most disappointing if you're a Utah Jazz fan. To not even really put up a fight in the series. I know they put up a fight in Game 3, but I mean, if you were to tell any Utah fan, or we're not Utah fans, but any Utah fan, and then they tell you or me, Harden's going to go 3 for 20. I'm going to guess the game is, the Utah Jazz wins 120 tonight, 120 to 105. You know what I mean? How do you, it's just incredible to me that Harden didn't do anything, didn't make any shots. He created for others. I mean, he's a hell of a player, but he didn't make any shots, and you still lost the game. That pretty much tells you this series is over. That's what that tells you.
Yeah, I have to concur everything that you just said there. Utah Jazz, they just don't know how to win yet. Maybe this next year they'll be able to learn how to win, but right now they just don't know how to win, and the series is is a wrap. They do play tonight, the late game. I think Houston gets a sweep in Utah. Series is over, just like that.
Yeah.
So, who do you got winning tonight? But just between Houston and the Jazz.
I might pick the Jazz one more time. This is so tricky because if Utah just mails it in, it'd be like, man, why would I want to go back to Houston? And of course, Houston's going to win tonight.
Right.
So it's hard to say what Utah team's going to show up. Are they going to show up and try to, get this one and really try? Then Utah could force a game 5, but nah, Harden's not going to go back-to-back games of shooting 3 for 20. So I'll take Houston tonight. Houston's a sweep, and then let's get ready for this barn burner, Houston versus Golden State matchup in a couple days.
Yeah, and then we have one more game tonight that is happening. Another snooze nest, more than likely at Bucks versus Pistons. Who do you got?
Yeah, Bucks. I thought we picked that earlier. Yeah, Bucks. Yeah, Bucks will sweep this one. Yeah, absolutely. There's no.
So we get two
here.
sweeps, two sweeps tonight. We're going to take another break, guys. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk a little NFL draft. What's going on with Kansas City in their first round pick? We'll be right back.
Yeah, Blake Griffin didn't play tonight.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Marcus and Mike show. I am Mike. The man to my left is Marcus. And Marcus, this is your Christmas NFL draft. It is Monday. Draft is, 3 days away as of right now. I believe it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday night, first round draft picks. And there are several teams that don't have first round draft picks as of right now. And a team that might fall into that category is the Kansas City Chiefs. So, Marcus, tell me what you are hearing on your side with the Kansas City Chiefs in their first round draft pick, and if they should actually do this thought or not.
Well, look, I mean, there's some rumors out there that Kansas City might trade their 29th overall to this Seattle Seahawks for for Frank Clark. They just lost D4. They lost Justin Houston. This is one of those things where it just totally makes perfect sense, but it probably won't happen. Kansas City Chiefs got Emmanuel Ogbah. They signed him. And to add a player like Frank Clark, and he wears number 55, he'll be just, he and D Ford are kind of similar. They both can line up in that wide 9-4-3. And they both can line up in outside linebacker 3-4 in pass rushing situations. And they're also perfect for the 3-4 situation to line up in the 3-4 outside linebacker to rush the passer. They can also play linebacker in a 4-3, in situations lining up, rushing the passer. Frank Clark's a hell of a talent, and his motor is always running. He comes up. His background is a tough background, from the streets and everything like that. I think it's Los Angeles. I remember the city, but there was a situation where Frank Clark, he couldn't find his mother. His mother was in the street somewhere, and they went looking and all that, like just things like that. Frank Clark has some background, and he brings it every Sunday, like a D Ford. They're very similar, and so to make this trade, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, this is what you always ask yourself in the trade: is the 29th pick going to be better than Frank Clark? And the answer would probably be no. Now you're going to have to pay Frank Clark, but I think he's worth it. If you didn't want D Ford, and Justin Houston's getting a little long in the tooth, I think this is a really good, solid replacement. I don't think you're going to find at the 29th pick a better player than Frank Clark. If you're Kansas City and Seattle is shopping him, I would pull this trigger immediately, take myself out of the first round, and then Frank Clark would be my de facto first round pick, and I'd be holding up the 55 jersey next to him, and it's not D Ford, it's Frank Clark.
Yeah.
And so you plug and play Frank Clark. I'd sign him to like a 5-year, $60-70 million deal. That's what I'd do if I was the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think Seattle is looking maybe to trade Frank Clark because they're going to have to pay a lot of money to Russell Wilson. So they'd rather build on that 29th pick than pay Frank Clark $70 million. So it makes sense for both teams, and also makes sense in trading Frank Clark away out of your conference. I don't know, back when you were a little kid, Kansas City and Seattle were in the same conference.
Yeah.
They were in the AFC West. They were in the same division. They were in the AFC West. Now they're not. Now the one's in the NFC and one's in the AFC. So I'd give Frank Clark for that, the 29th pick. I'd give Frank Clark away and get that 29th pick if I was Seattle. Get him out of my conference. I don't have to worry about Frank Clark anymore. He's not going to come back and exact revenge on us. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's a perfect deal. It's a perfect deal. It makes sense for both teams.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying, except for the fact that Kansas City and Seattle has already had a couple deals that have fell through. One of which being the safety deal for, I'm forgetting his name right now off the top.
Earl Thomas.
Yeah, the Earl Thomas thing.
Earl Thomas.
Rumor had it that Earl Thomas had a contract in hand with Kansas City Chiefs, and then out of the blue, the Baltimore Ravens offered him some money, and he said, "See you guys later." So I don't know if the Chiefs aren't willing to fork up some money, or what exactly the issue is, but there's some type of disconnect between Seattle players and Kansas City as of right now, and I don't know what that is, but I do agree with you on this trade. It's a very good opportunity for Kansas City because we do need help on that outside linebacker, defensive end help there, and he's the perfect match. He is just like Justin Houston, just like you said, but he is younger. He has a motor that doesn't stop, and players in a new place after 4, 5, 6 years in the league, they seem to get re-energized, and maybe that's exactly what he needs to even be a Pro Bowl caliber player, possibly the best player on this defense. And if this happens, last year the weakness of the Kansas City Chiefs was the defense. Our defense was horrible, and then we cut Eric Berry, Justin Houston, D Ford, and like several other guys. But then we also been pretty active in the free agency. So if this trade happens, I look for the Kansas City defense to be a pretty average, maybe even above average defense as this happens.
So no, I mean you have to come back to to be at least average again. Kansas City wasn't that good. You signed the Honey Badger. I think that's not bad. Tyrann Mathieu, that was a good consolation prize. You missed out on Earl Thomas. You signed Emmanuel Ogbah in the offseason. To get a player like Frank Clark, like I mentioned, the Frank Clark Emmanuel Ogbah combination is probably not as dynamic as D Ford and Justin Houston when D Ford and Justin Houston are going really well. But it's not bad. It's a very good replacement. You got to put somebody out there. And Frank Clark is the perfect one. Motor always running, plays angry, and still a relatively young player. I would do this deal if I was Kansas City in a heartbeat.
The main issue with Justin Houston and D Ford is when those two were on the field together, they were great. The thing is when they were on the field together, they could never stay healthy at the same time. We would bring Justin Houston back, and they would play together for like a game, maybe two. Ford would get hurt. Ford would be back for like a game, and then so it was just like, I understand it's all a business at the end of the day, and you have to be healthy to make the cash, which they couldn't do. Hopefully, Clark does come to Kansas City, because at that 29th pick, I don't know what Kansas City would do if they had that pick. Do you go offensive line? Do you go defensive outside linebacker? What do you do? And just like what you said over and over and over, is the 29th pick right now as good as this player is? So
no,
you have to make that trade if you're Kansas City. I think. So
I actually think if Kansas City doesn't come in and make this deal, if Frank Clark is really out there on the market, there's going to be a lot of teams, not just Kansas City, that'll be willing to give up their first-round pick for a Frank Clark. Once you get past in the teens, Frank Clark will be available. I don't know if you give away, a top 10 pick for Frank Clark. I mean, you could, but like I'll give you, for instance, Dave Gettleman for the Giants. He, a lot of people have their the 6th overall pick. Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock. They need a quarterback to replace Eli Manning. But I've heard that Gettleman is dead set on taking a defensive player. He is not going to go quarterback at that 6th spot. So he's going to end up with a really good player like Christian Wilkins and Ed Oliver. and then he's got the 17th pick. And if he doesn't want a quarterback at that spot, if you're Gettleman and you really want to improve this Giants defense, I've heard he loves pass rushers. That's what he likes. They won 2 Super Bowls off the NASCAR package. It wasn't Eli Manning.
Yep.
It was Eli Manning about 30%, and that NASCAR package about 70%. All those guys in the front line for the Giants should have MVP. Should be the MVP of those Super Bowls, not Eli Manning.
Right.
Eli Manning put up 14 points, and you know what I mean. The Giants defense was amazing. So if Gettleman wants to get back to that glory years for the Giants, and there's an old saying, you can never have enough pass rushers. And they traded away Olivier Vernon, or they didn't re-sign him. So now you're looking at the 6th pick, Ed Oliver, Christian Wilkins to man that middle, and then the 17th pick, I would send it to Seattle,
right,
for Frank Clark. So the Kansas City better jump in here, because people will offer even better for Frank Clark. Gettleman, I wouldn't be shocked if he jumped in with the 17th pick. That 29th pick, you might even have to give up a fourth. Because it's so far late in the first round for a Frank Clark.
Right.
But if I was Kansas City, I would get involved in that real quick if I was Kansas City, because you have the Dave Gettlemans that want to just draft defense, and you can never have enough pass rushers. And Frank Clark is a hot commodity. So if I'm Gettleman right now, I'm taking Ed Oliver or Montez Sweat with that 6th pick, and I'm taking Frank Clark with the 17th pick. Because I'm trading that to Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to your point there, Oakland has 24th pick and 27th overall pick, and they need an outside linebacker like as well. So they are, if he is truly on the slate, like people are saying here, I foresee him getting a first-round pick at some point somewhere down the line. Is it with the Giants? I think that's a very good pick up there, or Oakland, or even look at a team like the Colts. They are very, very young on the defensive side of the ball, and they could use a veteran leadership on that outside defensive end guy. So sticking with the draft here, the topic we've been talking about for the last 3 months, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals came out, I believe it was Friday or Thursday, saying that we're not taking Kyler Murray the very first pick. Is this all smoke and mirrors? Are they looking to move down the draft a little bit? What do you think Arizona Cardinals are doing right now? Do they really want Kyler, or are they trying to bluff and try to get some teams to move up and switch picks with them? What do you think?
That's a great question. Who knows what the hell they're doing? They're doing a good job of bluffing, even though they came out with that video and didn't have Josh Rosen on it. They could be.
You could just be looking too much into that just for this very aspect.
Right. They probably working Josh Rosen out right now and seeing if he can run that system that Cliff Kingsbury runs. It's all up to Cliff Kingsbury. It really, to be honest, I mean, you hire that coach, you pay him millions of dollars to implement his system. It's up to Cliff Kingsbury, to be honest. If Cliff Kingsbury walks in that office and says, "Hey, I can work with Josh Rosen in this system. We don't need to. Let's fix the defense. Josh Rosen can do what I need him to do. He makes all the throws and da-da-da." Then they'll go defense. This is really fascinating to see what's going to happen. I tend to think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to tell them he wants Kyler Murray, and I think they're going to move Rosen on draft day for a first-round pick. And the likely destination, in my opinion, is going to be the San Diego Chargers or the Washington Redskins. So we'll see what happens there. This is must-see TV. This NFL draft, it's fascinating. You and I talked about this. I wouldn't do it. I mean, if Josh Rosen was in this draft today, let's just say he would be the number 1 overall pick in this draft. Easily. Yeah, better than Dwayne Haskins and Drew Lock. So I wouldn't move him. I mean, I wouldn't have hired Cliff Kingsbury to begin with. I would have hired a more pro-style coach in terms of that would use Josh Rosen's talents to its fullest.
Right.
And then I would go defense. I probably would take Quinnen Williams with the number 1 overall pick. I think he's the best defensive player in this draft. I mentioned before he probably won't get as many sacks as Bosa or Jonathan Allen, but as far as lining them up everywhere, Quinnen Williams is the best defensive player in this draft. So I would keep Rosen and take Quinnen Williams. Maybe they'll keep Rosen and take Bosa with the number 1 pick. Somebody opposite Chandler Jones and they signed Terrell Suggs. This would be nice to see if they could add a Bosa or Quinnen Williams, but they're gonna the unique thing is they have a lot of flexibility with having Rosen and with being able to select Kyler Murray. They can get a first-round pick they'll get San Diego Chargers first-round pick for Josh Rosen. So then they'll have a first-round pick late in the draft to take care of their defensive needs. So that's also a possibility too. This is really intriguing. And who knows where they're going to go?
Right. And just to add to your point there, the positive thing that's happening for the Arizona Cardinals right now is off-season workout started last week or 2 weeks ago, and
right.
and they're able to see if the quarterback is able to fit into that system, yes or no.
Right.
Maybe like yes, you're just in helmets, or maybe not even helmets, but you can still get a pretty good feel of what Drew Rosen is like for you, and I've seen reports saying that Drew Rosen looks really good. He's put on some weight. He has arm strength. And he is fitting into the system well. Now, is that all smoke and mirrors? Who knows? I say no. Because, why would you waste a number 1 overall pick on a quarterback and then trade him away the next year for a quarterback that you may not even fit in the pro-style offense at all, or in the NFL like at all? Right. I say you have to stick with Drew Rosen for at least another 2 years. Let him get his feet wet in the offense this year, and then really evaluate him the next year. And this draft is so top heavy with defensive talent that you cannot go wrong picking out a defensive tackle, an outside linebacker, right, a defensive end. I do agree with you that Quentin is going to have a great NFL year, or like a career, I should say. Nick Bosa is going to have a great year as well, or a great career. But Josh Allen, I think he is the most underrated. I mean, he is the 3rd or 4th overall top player in the draft, but he could easily go number 1 as well. So what Arizona?
Yeah, he could.
What Arizona really needs to do is they need to talk with Oakland right now, get a couple first-round picks. Build that defensive side of the ball. Maybe get a good wide receiver, and really give Cliff Kingsbury and Drew and the quarterback the talent around him to really succeed. Because if you take a quarterback number 1, you are basically putting your franchise back 4 or 5 years. At this point, I think taking quarterbacks back to back in the first rounds, that's not good.
See, you're 100% right, Michael. To give up on Josh Rosen 1 year after you drafted him, and you get what you gave up for him, to me is completely asinine.
Yeah,
it absolutely makes no sense. But it looks like they might do it because Kyler Murray is going to fit this system that Cliff Kingsbury is going to run. Let's hope that it works out well for them.
And then you have to think about this. 49ers have the number 2 overall pick. So the player that you don't pick on that defensive side of the ball, you are going to have to face him twice a year for the next 10 to 12 years. Are you prepared to face Josh Allen twice a year for the next 10 years, Quentin Williams next 12 years, Nick Bosa?
Well, you're going to have to face one of them because you can't take all 3.
Well,
but I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, if you are dead set on getting a quarterback, move down in the draft, because this draft is top heavy. Just like you said, the Giants want a pass rusher. Oakland's probably going to take a pass rusher or a linebacker. Jets, I'm not for sure, probably defensive line as well. 49ers are going to take a defensive guy. So you could easily move down to 5 or 6 and still get and still get your guy if you truly want Kyler.
No, absolutely. I mean, if it was my draft, I'm sticking with Josh Rosen, and I'm taking Quinnen Williams easily. I signed Terrell Suggs. He's got one good year left. I have Chandler Jones on the other side. I put Terrell Suggs, Chandler Jones, and I'm sticking Quinnen Williams and 3 technique, and I'm going. I mean, I'm building my defense.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. And Josh Rosen, they have to give him more tools to work with. I understand that because he had basically nothing last year. So, but there's no offensive player here at the top of the draft that's going to help Josh Rosen immediately when there's the draft is top heavy defensively in the first few picks. So I got to help my defense out, and I'm taking Quinnen Williams with the number 1 pick.
But at the same point, you just said that you have no offensive threats on that side of the ball. So if you put Kyler Murray in that same situation, he will do the same exact thing as Drew Rosen did last year. That's 3 wins, if not worse than that.
Well, that's why you build the defense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
yeah. No, I mean, now Kyler Murray's a little bit better. He's probably you'll see a bunch of scramble situations and all that stuff. But, yeah, I mean, they've got to build that offense for Rosen or Kyler Murray. But you're not going to deal with the first overall pick right here. It's got to be one of those. It's got to be Allen, Bosa, or Quinnen Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of shift gears a tad bit here, we reported on Friday that Sweat had a heart issue, and teams are starting to take him off the boards left and right. I believe it's up to 6 teams that are reportedly have taken him off the board.
Really?
And then now. I believe I saw this morning that he tweeted out that he will not be at the draft in person either.
Wow.
And then ESPN also has him drop down to 15th as the best overall player.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, it's definitely sad news for him. But if this heart issue is something that he's been playing with for a long time, I don't have an issue with this heart issue, and some team toward the bottom of the draft, possibly even Kansas City, if he falls down to the 29th pick, sitting there at
yes,
and then, like the Chiefs haven't made that trade yet, they better pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, because now you're talking about investing less dollars. That's why he moves down. I completely understand why teams would do that. Because the money gets less significant. You're still a millionaire. You get picked at 29th. I mean, but it's not the big time money in those top 10 picks there. So, if there's any kind of condition, I would not invest a 5 or 6 year contract, worth about $30 million to a player that, with a heart condition. And I don't want to be responsible, if he, something happens to him on the field. I mean, that's a sticky situation. I'd have to talk to his doctors, have our doctors check him out.
The one thing I want to know is what is the actual issue? Is it
yes?
Is it a heartbeat problem? Is his valves not closed? What exactly is the issue?
You have to know the issue, and you have to know the big thing is he has the issue, right?
Right.
So now you have to learn how to control the issue. Can we control it?
Yes.
Can he get only 30 snaps a game? You know what I mean? Is he going to be a situational player, or can he play the entire game? And he plays hard every play. So I don't know. And then also, to your point that you said that he's been doing it for a while now. Why can't he do it? In the NFL, but the NFL, there's more practice. I mean, there's more time. In college, you're limited for practice and all that. In the NFL, it's eat, drink, and sleep football.
Right.
So he's going to be running a lot more. Training camp's going to be harder. There's more games. So I mean, you're going to play. You play a 16-game schedule, and you play preseason, and if you play in the playoffs, you're talking about 2 college schedules.
You're right.
There was a player a couple of years ago played in the Super Bowl, and he said he played 2 college seasons because he played all 4 preseason games. He played all 16. Then he played 4 to get to the Super Bowl. That's 24 games. They said, man, you just played 2 college schedules.
Yep.
So that's real tough on Montez Sweat. We got to see if they can manage his situation. And right now it looks like teams are taking him off the board. It's fortunate. But back to your original point, the 29th pick, if Kansas City doctors can somehow manage it and they think that it's not as bad as everybody thinks and he can play 30, 40 snaps a game, it might be okay to invest the 29th overall pick on him as opposed to the 8th overall pick.
So do you see him dropping out of the first round with this heart condition?
I don't know enough of the situation even to make that assessment on that question. If it's a bad case, absolutely. If it's one of those ones where things snowballs and then because you just said teams keep on and if we get to Thursday night and now it's like 17 teams have dropped him out of his first round, then absolutely. Right. The other teams will run scared. The NFL is a copycat league. And so other teams might, even Kansas City at 29, if they get wind of 17 other organizations have dropped him out of the first round, Kansas City won't even touch him with the 29th pick.
Yeah.
He might be a third or fourth round pick.
Yeah.
Or may not get picked at all. If it's really bad, Michael, he may not get picked at all. We don't know yet.
I still think he will go in the draft just because you cannot pass on a top 10 talent. Say if he does fall to the fourth round, and you are a team like the Giants that love edge pass rushers. If you're a team like the Kansas City Chiefs that need an edge pass rusher, I think you take the risk in the fourth round if he has fallen down that far. I did a quick Google search on his heart issue, and they are keeping it pretty hush hush. Let me do a quick reading here.
I tell you who probably wouldn't pass on him. The 32nd pick, the New England Patriots, Coach Bill Belichick.
Right.
You know what? I mean, hey, I could see a situation where he thinks he's going out of the first round. His family's all frustrated, and good old Bill Belichick keeps him in the first round. Imagine the Patriots, getting that kind of talent with the 32nd overall pick. I had Irv Smith slotted in there for the Patriots in my mock first round to take Irv Smith out of Alabama, but then they signed Safarian Jenkins a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
I kind of took him out, and so I put like Chandler Jones is somebody that could make first round, the 32nd overall pick to eventually maybe the quarterback out of Duke to replace Tom Brady. I think that's a good pickup right there. But Montez Sweat, it would not shock me at all if he almost drops out of the first round, and then Bill Belichick picks him up with the 32nd pick. That'd be a hell of a pickup for them.
That would, and he would fall into a great situation at that point as well.
Yeah, he would.
The quote unquote Patriot way. So before we head out, who are your top 5 picks going off the board on Thursday's draft?
Oh, no, it's still the same. I mean, there's nothing that's changed. I have Kyler Murray going Arizona, something I wouldn't do. We've talked about that for a while. I would keep Rosen and take Quinnen Williams with the number 1 overall pick. But I have Kyler Murray 1, Quinnen Williams. My phone's ringing. Don't they know I'm on I'd have Quinnen Williams number 1. But I'd have Quinnen Williams. He would be my next pick for the 49ers. Allen, obviously the pass rusher from Kentucky, just a fabulous. Bosa, those are all great players. So that would be my top ones: Murray, Bosa, Allen, and Quinnen Williams. And I do have Ed Oliver. If you talk about the top 5 players, right? That's what you asked me.
Yep.
I have Ed Oliver at 5. I know a lot of people have moved him down in the teens, and there's some people have now moved him up into the top 10. I think Ed Oliver has been a really good player, and I think he actually could be a better pro prospect than college, because I think the pro coaches would put him in better situations to succeed. Houston needed him to like plug and play and take up a bunch of double teams and all that. The NFL coaches and scouts and position coaches will put him in better spots to be more successful. I have Ed Oliver as a top 5 player in this draft. I would take him. Tampa Bay, that's a good spot for him. Tampa Bay, although I have Tampa Bay taking Devin White from LSU, the middle linebacker, who's just a phenomenal player. But Ed Oliver right there is top 5 for me. If you were to take Kyler Murray out, and you don't have Kyler Murray in that the first spot, then I'd have Ed Oliver and Devin White in that 4th and 5th spot.
Yeah, and I think there are going to be a lot of trades happening to move up, because since this is such a top-heavy defensive side of the ball, and the offensive players always seem to move up in the draft. Very rarely do they move down.
Right.
So I really anticipate the wide receiver / tight end from Iowa. I believe his name's like Hawkinson.
Yeah.
I would not be
fabulous.
surprised if he jumps up in the top 5. Also, along with quarterbacks, I do not surprise if Haskins or Drew Lock find themselves up in the top 10 as well from from teams lower wanting to move up in the draft, make sure they get their guy. Because the offensive guys normally come off the board first because it's an offensive league.
Well, to your point, I think Elway's looking at a quarterback here at number 10.
Right.
So if you want Haskins or you want Locke, you better jump ahead of Elway.
Yeah,
at 10.
True. But I think Elway is going to pick the wrong pick, so you want to be number 11 and pick after him. So
he'll mess that Paxton Lynch thing is going to follow Elway forever. Right. It's like Adam Morrison and Kwame Brown following Michael Jordan forever. Yeah. That wasn't a good pick there. Yeah.
But I would definitely not be surprised if we saw 3 quarterbacks go in the top 15 picks on Thursday night. So.
And I love what you're talking about Hawkins, and we'll get into it. TJ Hawkinson from Iowa here. He's one of the only few players that have ever reminded me of the Gronk.
Yeah.
Because he almost plays positionless. Hawkinson, he can block. He does everything that the Gronk does. You can put him out at wide receiver in the slot. Gronk is almost like that positionless football player that you can line Gronk up anywhere. That's why he was so valuable. He can line him up. Strong side, weak side, and he does whatever. Wide out, definitely. Slot. I mean, Gronk did it all. T.J. Hawkinson's in that mold. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Gronkowski, but that's a heck of a player there. Hawkinson from Iowa could sneak into that top 10.
Yeah, guys. So like I said, the draft does start Thursday night. I believe it's 8:00 Eastern time. It's just the first round. Second round is Friday night, and then third, fourth, and fifth, and etc. is Saturday and Sunday. Actually, it might be second and third round on Friday night. I'm not.
Yeah, it's second and third round Friday night. Yeah, and then the rest of the draft is Saturday. Yeah, and so that's 3 Christmases for me: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
So guys, we'll definitely hit some more draft talk tomorrow. We'll touch a little bit of NBA because the NBA's kind of got the lock hold on the sports world as of right now. So we'll definitely try to squeeze in NBA and draft as well. Once the draft calms down, we're going to break down some more schedules. We got the Texans coming, we got the Bengals, got the Browns, and possibly the Detroit Lions. I'm not for sure yet. We'll see how the co-host want to handle things of their pick and losing teams here. But guys, join us tomorrow. We will be on YouTube being premiered at 6 p.m. The podcast is on before that. So guys, be sure to join us tomorrow, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good day.